We were listening to Sun Ra's dissonant, spacey sounds of cosmic tones for mental therapy. I asked myself, what is self-knowing? When the notion of the self is itself so very tenuous. The 20th century view of history was that history recounted stories of intention, knowingness, self-knowingness, oceans not having intention, the tectonic plates, the sun, the planets not having awareness in the modern sense, were themselves outside of history. Unlike, let's say, a Manet painting heralding modernity through its self-knowing and inversion of the rules of perspective. For the ancients, myth precedes the particulars of history, of autobiography. The thisness of this now, this happening right in front of you. And me, my voice. Well, whose voice? Who's telling? Who speaks here? There's this idea of intention as awareness, as knowing more than, let's say, being. Listening to the intergalactic astro-solar infinity orchestra, we follow the couple and their animated hands moving like a gorgeous waltz to customs. Not tapping into the awareness and liveliness of the oceans, the ice of glaciers, the forest, with the sense that they are bodies with direction and being, seems to me to be at the heart of the impasse of the contemporary. Not sensing this at the depths of our persons prevents us from having a common horizon, and in opening up that intuition, that sensation, that sensing, that remote sensing, the future will open up to us, a much greater us, and this sensibility, if we open up to it, might give us solace and pleasure again. Some time ago, earlier than 15,000 BCE, Egypt was not a desert country, but a subtropical grassland with scattered trees. A dramatic change in the weather occurred between 15,000 and 10,000 BCE that was probably brought about by the end of the last ice age. Major floods left their deposits throughout Egypt. As a result, one can easily find seashells in the Egyptian deserts. It is believed by conventional Egyptology that the Egyptian pyramid was the tomb and the instrument that enabled the transfiguration of the dead king into an Ankh, a glorified being of light that could go on into the afterlife. In this sense, the purpose of the pyramid was to serve as the revivification machine of the king, the device that would ensure the preservation and facilitate his rebirth, his revival into the afterlife. In ancient Egypt, each individual's eternal life was dependent on the continued existence of their king, a belief that made the pharaoh's tomb the concern of the entire kingdom. As we entered the tomb, the long shadow of the camel rider passed again, and I thought I saw a falcon on his shoulder. Soon we were inside, and Sherry walked up to a wall of hieroglyphic writings. She tells us, put together in rows and columns, these symbols form an infinite variety of patterns. They are not just pictures. To those who can read them, they were a system of writing, stories, love poetry, and above all, magic spells. English is written and read horizontally, from left to right, while Arabic is written and read horizontally from right to left. Hieroglyphics could be written and read horizontally in two directions, either from left to right or from right to left, but always read from top to bottom. Reading one of the hieroglyphic spells, she says, a common group of hieroglyphics used as a magic formula or amulet was Ankh, Unja, Sanib, Jid, meaning life, prosperity, health, stability. But this one, she says, summons a fire. As she said this, I could see through a shaft of light the falcon in the sun's light, as if in a blaze, and I started to feel faint and sat down. A spell, a charm, she explained, was a magic formula intended to trigger a magical effect on a person or objects. While she read the spell, her purple mascara gave me the impression that she was a blue dragonfly, and I thought I saw her levitating, a beautiful iridescence, her diaphanous wings changing colors like a soap bubble, flitting upward in the light, beyond which we could see the apex of the Unis pyramid. Roman gave me a sidewise glance, a look of, "Did you see that?" It was here that things started getting strange for me. It may have been the occult-sounding language, the vocabulary, which she said was the main medium through which one could access the magical divine and later link it with the present. Ancient Egypt regarded the entire universe as a gigantic act of magic, the transformation of consciousness into the material universe. You sleep that you may wake. You die that you may live. The pyramids were so big that the nearby Sphinx seemed oddly petite. The great Sphinx of Giza, the terrifying one, literally father of dread. Reclining Sphinx is a limestone statue of a mythical creature with the body of a lion and the head of a human. The Sphinx was not assembled piece by piece, but was carved from a single mass of limestone, exposed when workers dug a horseshoe-shaped quarry in the Gaza Plateau. Animal and pharaoh merged into one super-solar being, as the Sphinx was not only the symbolic guardian of the tomb, but also symbolized the divine power and wisdom through which the pharaoh ruled and protected his people. The affinity of pharaoh and lion demonstrated that the king was united with the powerful solar deity Sekhmet, daughter of the sun god Ra, and was also associated with Hamkis, Lord of the Two Horizons, who represents the rising and setting sun identified with rebirth and resurrection. The lion was a solar symbol, a common archetype of royalty. As I looked on at it, it seemed to gaze eternally, not just over the valley of the Nile with its face to the rising sun, but beyond time, beyond its own place in time, beyond me. The Sphinx puts a spell on you, and there I was transfixed, and thought in that reverie that I had spent 10 years in residence besides the Sphinx. Years spent in daily contemplation. In the gaze of the Sphinx's love, its adoration for the sun, for the divine all, I faced the rising sun each day, following its passage across the sky, the life within me becoming holy, life meeting light. And so it was, my head now attached to a lion's body, shape-shifting, a metamorphosis on the threshold of two worlds, mankind and the gods. I was to join the divine. And then someone turned me round, and before you knew it, put me in a white Bedouin headdress, took my iPhone, arranged my hands, and pressed me into a photographic pose. There it was, I was holding the Sphinx in the palm of my hand. Now the Great Sphinx is huge. It's 241 feet long, 20 feet wide, and 66 feet high. The eyes on the face are 6 feet tall, the ears over 3 feet tall, and the nose would have been nearly 5 feet before it was knocked off. All of it carved out of the bedrock in a trench here in Giza. All of it held between my two hands in an image on my phone. Some have suggested the Sphinx was the product of an even older civilization, an Atlantean civilization, the one we have come to know through Plato's account of Atlantis that supposedly came to him from his godfather Solon, who himself got it from an Egyptian priest. Gazing into the eyes of the Sphinx, I thought, what will I do when I return? What path should I follow? Is there a direction to all of this? I reminded myself that at an early age, I had understood everything is becoming, everything in process. Being was becoming, this becoming, something new, alive, beautiful, and possible, always becoming. And then I thought of the unbecoming of things, like the spiral jetty or the Sphinx. Once so fiercely in love with love, once upon a time, not long ago, I was a mystic. I was time. I was becoming. I was moment by moment. But something else started to happen to me. I became possessed by a terrible dissatisfaction. My supposed privileged self, that person that others would say blessed, felt something terribly uncomfortable. In front of the Sphinx, I was thinking about a friend's 50th birthday party, where in his speech to his gathered friends, he let us know that he had had this chemical experience and that he had now found the answer in love. And for some reason, I was thinking of Arthur Rimbaud and Greta Thunberg. And while he said that, I felt an avalanche of doubt and loathing and disgust and hurt. It hurt, it really hurt to see myself so full of abjection and disdain. I, who was wise, who no short time ago could practice love, could hear from so many friends, yes, how they had taken this chemical trip, this drug, and realized it's love. Love is all you need. But as my good friend says so well, love is a practice. It's practicing. And then I thought, demon or divine, I am in Giza, in front of the Sphinx, a supposed riddle. Love is a Sphinx. In front of this fractured carving, I notice a young woman with a copy of Flaubert's Sentimental Education. On the cover is Courbet's Man with Leather Belt, a devastatingly beautiful painting. And well, I think of Flaubert, who in his travels to Egypt writes that even while in Egypt, my mind is often elsewhere, asking himself, when I think of my future, what shall I do when I return? What path shall I follow? I am full of doubts and indecision. And I think this is the same with love, more than we imagine. And the more I thought about it, I came to doubt love and started to wonder if it was love that indeed was the answer. And what was this love? And the more I thought about this, the more I noticed all around me, everyone was talking about love. Love and being blessed. That was the other one, blessed, sort of another version of privilege. And it reminded me when I was making a film about network culture in cities, and I was interviewing the urban sociologist Saskia Sassen, and she mentioned her annoyance at Americans and their sense, all we need is empathy, love, saying to me, I don't care about empathy, it's about solidarity, it's about standing with others, alongside others. Love seemed more and more to me about a kind of self-love, a kind of infantile love. And then I thought how much Christianity is about love, and how much love was deployed with an extraordinary violence. And then it got me to think, again, about Arthur Rimbaud and his season in hell. Yes, I felt, in a spiritual sense, in hell. Unfortunately for him, it only exists in my mind. That's why it would be so darn hard to get the hell out of here. And that's why I thought of Greta. To me, that's love. Couples are posing in front of the Sphinx. And soon I see the pictures, the posing for pictures, the Instagram pictures of holding the Sphinx in hand. Sent all over the world, this instantaneity, a kind of magic, a kind of telepathy, a kind of riddle. The woman boarded her bus, Flaubert by her side. As we walked, saturated in sand, I stopped and picked some of it up and let it run through my fingers, these small crystals. I will be a detective of this earth, looking for clues and the pieces to put together the puzzle of what happened in the past, what might happen in the future. I remember hearing the earth is like a tape recorder. Every year in the life of the planet, left behind has been a kind of recording encoded as chemical information. I feel the invisible radiation invisible to our eyes that convey heat. As we walk along, the temperature becomes unbearable, suffocating. I begin to ask myself, just what is heat? What is this drenching sweat? My shirt wet, this sign of heat, my throat parched, that mirage there in the distance. I keep digging up shells at the bottom of the sea, deep into the sea floor. Yes, the tape recorder. Oxygen, 16, 18. The colder the water, I will make myself water, cold water. It will cool me down, thinking of water. Encoded in each layer is chemical information about the temperature of the water as shells grow. They incorporate oxygen from the seawater. Oxygen comes in different forms. One is oxygen 16. It has 8 proteins and 8 neutrons. In its nucleus, another form, oxygen 18, has 2 extra neutrons. The colder the water, the more oxygen. 18 is incorporated in the shell. This difference tells me the temperature when it formed. I can take a clamshell that is 50 million years old and tell you how warm it was in the summer, how cold it was in the winter within a single year. Each shell provides a brief snapshot of Earth's climate. Digging up more shells in the body of the sea, the floor of the ocean, the bottom of the sea, sand, sea, I take recordings of the accumulation of time, of mud. I dig up these. I reach into my carefully archived library of mud. Organisms either grow in the surface water or at the bottom of the ocean. Here are more shells, so I reconstruct what the temperature was. All the while waiting, whittling in the desert for the van to come, the van whose fuel made those here rich and made the desert even hotter. The ocean of sand, the sea of sand takes me into a whirlpool of delirium. Ah, where is the long shadow of the camel? On the long car ride back, we see locals in the street shopping. Cairo is architecturally a magnificent city with so many outstanding buildings, but like Havana, completely run down. Everything Walter Benjamin writes about the Paris arcades can be found here, and everything before that and before that. Before we arrive at our hotel, I ask Romy to find a place for me to buy some whiskey, an ordeal in itself.